Hello, good morning and welcome to another exciting day to talk about business. It is Business 360 and my name is Blyden Okem. In Business 360 today, we'll look at the most important features in the world of business, being what the markets are saying. From the commodity market, we'll also look at the forex market, the intensity of the market, the perspective regarding Naira. Is it falling? Is it going up? But we'll begin the setup with business entertainment. New York Red Bulls tickets usually cost $46. Here's what they cost now that Lionel Messi is playing. Saturday's Inter-Miami CF match marks Messi's first regular season Major League Soccer and its games, and demand to see it is sending tickets prices nearly 1,000% higher than they usually are for the New York Red Bulls. Ticket resellers Vivid Seats said the average price for this weekend's game is $483. That is well above the usual $46. A search on Vivid Seats reveals that some seats are costing as much as $3,600 for the first row, but you have to buy all four, totaling nearly $15,000. Of course, there are many cheaper seats, with some as low as $345. Quite interesting in New York. Moving to the BRICS summit. BRICS leaders have agreed to expand the club of major emerging economies and adopted condition for entry. South Africa said on Wednesday as the bloc pursues greater clout to shape the world order. Calls to enlarge the BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, have denominated the agenda at a three-day summit in Johannesburg and exposed rifts between members. According to reports, China is seeking to rapidly grow the BRICS amid rising competition with the United States, but the group's other major power, India, is wary of the intentions of a geopolitical rival. South African officials say nearly 24 countries have formally applied to join the BRICS, which accounts for 40% of the world's population and a quarter of the global economy. Still on the BRICS summit, the question is, what Iran, Ethiopia, others want in the BRIC blocs? Wall Street Journal Alexander Wexler analyzes the membership frenzy and whether an enlargement can threaten the G7. Let's find out more.
The G7, a group of 7 of the world's advanced economies, including the US, UK, and Japan. And here's what some call the alternative from the developing world, the BRICS, formed by Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The BRICS is trying to position itself as the voice for emerging economies and challenge Western dominance of global affairs. Its leaders are holding a summit in Johannesburg to discuss an historic expansion. More than 40 countries, including Saudi Arabia and Iran, want to join.
The expansion of BRICS could definitely boost the group's global influence.
Let's look at what a potential enlargement means for the alliance and its ambitions to shake up the global political and economic order.
The original term BRIC was actually coined by a Goldman Sachs banker, grouping these really different countries together because they were so fast growing.
The leaders of Brazil, Russia, India, and China formalized their relationship in 2009 and invited South Africa to join the alliance a year later.
They decided to take that idea in an effort to create a bit of a political and economic counterpoint to what's perceived as the Western hegemony of the global political and economic spheres.
The BRICS countries together make up more than 40% of the world's population and almost a third of the world's GDP. According to data from the International Monetary Fund, the bloc has already overtaken the G7 nations' share of the global economy on the basis of purchasing power parity. That's when the purchasing power of different currencies is equalized. Projections by Goldman Sachs show the world's economic balance shifting towards the BRICS and emerging economies. China is expected to overtake the US as the world's largest economy by 2050, with India climbing to number 3.
China and India.
Well, African leaders emphasized the need for China to transition its focus from infrastructure development to local industrialization on the eve of the BRICS summit. The Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement reinforces the call for China's strategic shift, aiming to promote duty-free trade among African nations. Meanwhile, China's response includes discussion with African leaders on industrialization plans and prediction of increased investment from small and medium-sized Chinese businesses in Africa's development. Still in Africa, trade between Mumbai and Dar es Salaam has surpassed $6.4 billion, with Tanzania serving as the primary hub of India's connection with Africa, particularly East Africa. Tanzania hosts around $1.2 billion worth of Indian-assisted development projects, as stated by India's High Commissioner, Banaya Pradhan. Indian communities in Tanzania emerge as top investors, with growing interest in establishing new businesses contributing significantly to local employment and economic growth in Tanzania. Still looking at the talking point in business. In addition to 6 agreements on food securities, mining, and renewable energy, Kenya has negotiated a contract with Indonesia to produce and distribute drugs and vaccines as the nation revamps its pharmaceutical industry. Kenya's Biovax and Indonesia's Biopharma joined forces to develop vaccines and pharmaceuticals. The partnership aims to enhance healthcare self-reliance and mitigate future supply chain challenges. Now, in Nigeria. The spokesperson for the airline operators of Nigeria, Obiora Okonkwo, has requested a special foreign exchange window for airline operators to access dollars. Okonkwo said the aviation sector is increasingly finding it difficult to exchange their naira for dollars, as the United States currency is not readily available when needed. Highlighting the struggles of airline operators amid forex scarcity and high aviation fuel prices, Okonkwo stated that if the domestic airlines reflect their cost of operation on ticket prices, Lagos to Abuja will be 250,000 naira. He called on the new aviation minister, Festus Keyamo, to help tackle the rising cost of aviation fuel. Still in Nigeria. The federal government announced the electrification of 46,661 micro, small, medium enterprises, MSMEs, as well as households and public facilities with a total of 103 mini-grids. It announced this through the Rural Electrification Agency, adding that the 103 mini-grids were deployed across the country under the performance-based grants subcomponent of the Nigeria Electrification Project funded by the World Bank. This, it said, signaled a crucial advancement in enhancing electricity access to households, MSMEs, and public facilities in rural regions of Nigeria. Also, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission has advised power users across the country to start updating their prepaid meters in order to avoid losing the meters by November 2024. It explained that the unupdated prepaid meters would stop operating by November next year, adding that this was a global standard for prepaid electricity meters.